Ciao everybody, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a really beautiful bracelet, and I've cut open the strands. This is my second video from a very special bead box from Sam's Bead Shop. This box was their subscription for the month of December in 2023, and they had made some extra boxes and had some overstock. So this is a really great opportunity if you have always coveted getting a Sam's bead box, because they are so packed with gemstones and Czech glass and just amazing things. But if you don't want to commit to a subscription but you'd really like to have a box, there's a special discount for this box only for my audience. The code will be in the description box, so you have to use that, and you can get this box deeply discounted without subscribing. So it's a really special deal and especially beautiful box. If you didn't see my first video with a few projects in it, I did this really cute little kind of snow globe pendant, and I did another pendant with this faceted focal bead, turned it upside down. These gorgeous faceted crystals were in there. I mean, it's just a really amazing box, and I did some earrings and a couple other things I think in that video. So I'll link that video in the description box if you didn't see it, because I also went through all the items on the list. But today I'm going to do this open really cool bracelet, gemstone rondelle strand. There was a mix. Let me show you what was in there. There was a mix of gemstones, and I've taken out the apatite gemstones that were in here. I have these little vitriol, amazing, I mean just amazing dagger beads, and I think I just want one for a final dangle on my bracelet. And this gorgeous Czech glass button was in here, and it's so unique. It has 4 openings on the shank instead of just one, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. And these beautiful fire polish 6mm faceted rounds, fire polish faceted rounds were in there. And so I did bring in a few things from my stash. I'm going to be stringing on my Soft Flex turquoise color 49 strand bead stringing wire. I have some links of brass chain, and it's just going to be like the extender chain and kind of finish up my length on my bracelet. I have a gold plated lobster claw clasp, and I had this little assortment of 2-hole crystal beads, and I'm going to use that because this is going to be a 2-strand bracelet that goes into a single strand, and I think I'm going to use maybe one of them, maybe 2. I'm not totally sure, but I have a couple of those out here. And then I have 8/0 seed beads in gold and silver. This box was very icy, wintry. It's called Winter Wanderer, if I didn't say. And it was just all accented with beautiful silver. But I really love the gold, and I love the mix of the two, and especially with the fire polish. So I'm going to put both pieces, metallics in my bracelet. And it's going to be, I have 2 strands, a little bit, they were actually out of my scrap bag, so I didn't measure, but a bracelet length. So 2 strands, and I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks for stringing this way that I've discovered over the years. And one of them is to have some spacer beads that have large holes. It makes it so that your 2 strands don't compete for space when they come out and go back together, you know, when they go from 2 to 1 or from 1 to 2. And what these are is from this really gorgeous silver Tibetan spacer mix. It has several choices for large hole beads in here. I just picked that one. These have large holes. These are really gorgeous, really contemporary. They look a little bit like gears. I don't know, maybe I should try those in my stringing. Maybe I'll put a few of those out here too, because I really love these. And I'll just see which one makes the stringing look the best. But I can link this little Tibetan spacer mix also in the description box. It's just really handy to pull from. And so I'm going to start out, I'm not going to clamp anything off. I'm going to start out with one of my Czech glass fire polish, and fortunately 2 strands of the 49 strand do go through. So I think that's going to be on one end. And then let me just think for a minute here how I want to do this. I think a spacer bead. Oh wow, that's really pretty. I love that. And then one of these rondelles, which also has a large enough hole to put my bead on without really having it compete for space. And then another spacer bead. And again, here's where a larger hole spacer, when you want to then separate the strands and continue stringing, they're not competing for space. And what I'm going to do here is put on a gold seed bead and one of my fire polish, and then a gold seed bead. And so it's also, because of what I'm going to do here, alternating this pattern from one side of the bracelet or from one strand to the other, I do want to kind of keep my strands separated like that. And then I'm going to put 5 gold. Let me see how that works. 3, 4, 5 gold. I just want to make a little like gold bead station in between. And what I'm doing, if you can see with my thumbnail, is just seeing if I have enough beads there. And I actually think I need to do 6. Let me see how that lays. Once I work out the first section, I'll be stringing a few sections exactly like this. And if I want this to be more of an arch, then I would put more seed beads. But if I want it to lay right beside my fire polish, then I just want the top of this bead to land at the top of that bead. And I like that. So now I'm going to keep my 2 strands together and go for another spacer bead with the large hole. Just push everything down. That is gorgeous. And another rondelle on both strands. And another spacer bead on both strands. And so now I'm going to repeat what I did here, but I'm going to do it on the opposite strand. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to do a gold, a fire polish, and a gold. And I want it to be on the strand where my 6 seed beads were. And now on this other strand, I'll put my 6. So I'm alternating, like going from side to side. And I think I'm going to try to get 3 bead stations in there. I had started out with these daisy spacers with the large holes, but it was a little bit busier and I really like this cleaner spacer, so I'm going to stick with these. So it looks like that, and I think it's just really gorgeous. And now here's where I'm going to break away from that pattern. And I'm going to put, let's see, I'm going to put a gold, silver, gold on each side. And I'll show you why. It's because of the really cool shank, double hold shank on this check glass button. So I'm just alternating my gold and silver again. And I do want to keep my strands so that I have opposite bead stations. I want to keep it where it goes, you know, check glass here, then on this side, then on that side. So like that. And then I'm going to take my button and see how it has a hole that goes this way and a hole that goes that way. I'm going to use both of those. So I'm going to put it on one, I'm holding everything with my left hand, but I'm going to slide it on if I can. Slide it on that way, and then I'm going to come with my other strand and cross through the other hole. See how cool that is? And that's going to hold my button, I think. It's going to hold my button. It's not going to be the closure. It's going to be like the focal. And I don't have this clamped off, so I have to be careful pulling too tight. I'll pull all my beads off. But let's see how that looks. That is absolutely gorgeous. And I got my seed bead count just right so that the edge of my button just picks up right where I've left off. So I'm going to do that same thing again for the other side of the button, a gold 8-0, a silver 8-0, and a gold 8-0 on both sides. And here's where I think I'm going to bring in my little 2-hole crystal and just feed one strand of my bead stringing wire through each side. Like that and like that. I can put a link in the description box for these crystals too. They are so fun for stringing. They really add a little pop. Whoops. I'm being really brave not to have this other end clamped off. Let me see how I did with space here. I think I'm going to need to add one more gold seed bead on each side. And then I just wanted to show you, so I put a seed bead, like this is what the back side is going to look like, and I put one gold seed bead there, but then when I want my two strands to come together, it's really competing for space. So here's where a large hole spacer can really just really help the stringing to lay just right, because it gives those two wires, let me put it on and show you, it gives those two wires a place to lay beside each other, a space, but still corral them going into a single wire. So let me show you. When I push my bead up, now can you see how it lays? That large hole bead makes everything just lay perfectly, and then I can put my other crystal on. And so this is not my exact bracelet length, but I'm going to crimp this because I'm going to make up the difference in my chain and put a lobster claw clasp on this side, and then it will be an adjustable bracelet. So this style is really, really fun to make for gifts or if you're selling on a website, because one size fits all. I'm going to use my Soft Flex number 2 crimp tubes. They are the best in my opinion, and they work really well with the 49 strands. So I've got some silver ones here, one for each end. And I'm going to feed my crimp tube on both strands. And then from here I have to decide if I want to allow my pretty color of my Soft Flex to be exposed or cover it with seed beads before I make my loop, and I'm leaning toward covering it with seed beads. I think I'm actually going to do that. So I'm going to do a little gold seed bead loop here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually changed my mind. I want to add some silver seed beads in. I'm going to do 2 gold, 2 silver, 2 gold, 2 silver, 2 gold. And I'm going to let this other wire just hang out, and I'm going to come back down through my crimp tube with the wire that has the seed beads on it. It for sure won't go back through my Czech glass faceted round because I already have 2 wires coming through there, so I can't hide my wire down in there. I'm just going to have to trim it as close as I can for this design. Pull that into a loop. Just like that. And I'm going to use my magical crimping plier. I am being brave because I do not have the other side of my bracelet clamped off, but I'm just going to use my magical crimping plier and crimp all of these wires together. I love this tool, but you could also use a fold over crimp method here like your Xuron, but this looks like part of the seed bead ring, and I really love that. And then those of you that are returning to my channel, you know that I love my scraps of my soft flex wire for making my own ring components. And so that is what will happen with these, are going in my scrap bag. If you haven't seen my ring components, I happen to have a bracelet here that I was wearing. This is what I do with my scraps. I make these beaded rings with my soft flex wire and my number 2 crimp tubes, and then I add them into my designs. And so these are really valuable little scraps for me. Okay, now that side is done. I can push everything down and come to the other side. Also, this is my chance to make sure that my strands, my stringing has stayed alternating. So, you know, the 6 seed beads on the right, then in the next section on the left, then on the right. That's the look that I want. This bracelet is absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, feed my number 2 crimp tube on both wires. And this side is getting a gold chain attached to it with a jump ring. Or do I even want to do a jump ring? Maybe on this one, maybe I will attach my chain right to my piece. I think that's what I'm going to do. I haven't cut my chain yet, so I'm going to feed that on. And I'm going to loop my bead stringing wire the same way, just one strand coming back down through the crimp tube, and unfortunately it won't hide down into my Czech glass fire polish, but that's okay. And on this side, I don't want to do the seed beads because it will just not hang right from the chain. I think that's really pretty though, having the chain coming directly from the loop here. And so before I crimp, I just want to make sure that everything is the way that I want it, but that it's also nice and fluid. And that's going to be the perfect little finish to the bracelet, to have an extender. And I just want to check and make sure everything looks good, no strange gaps. And one of the things I love about the soft flex wire is that if you match your color to your project, letting it be exposed becomes just a lovely part of the design. So I'm not going to cover this with seed beads. I'm going to let it just show. Okay, my crimp tube is a little bead, and now I can come in and trim away my wires and add them to my scrap bag. So I'm going to allow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links of my chain for my extender, and this is solid brass, so I'm going to grab my older kind of junkier cutter and snip that link. And I save my links when I have solid brass chain. I save these links because they can be great for earrings. It's just like a fancy jump ring now. Just beautiful. Oh my goodness, what a bracelet. And so I want to make a dangle for my final extension here, my final link. You know, it's not wrong to leave that empty, but I always say it's prime real estate. I have to put something there. Okay, I'm going to just choose one of my dagger beads, and since they're very silvery, I'm going to use a scrap of my Soft Flex 22 gauge wire. Let me just pick one of these guys. These are so gorgeous. I mean, they're perfect for a dangle because this side is it has all those kind of wintry like purples and blues and silvers. And then this side is really silvery. And so they're just the prettiest dagger beads. So I'm going to make a little dangle by putting my scrap of 22 gauge wire in there. And I'm going to draw it up to the top and kind of wrap this like a briolette wrap. Just draw those two wires together, and right where I've pinched them together, I'm going to snip the shorter wire so it looks like that. And then I'm going to grab a hold of it right at the top and give it a 90-degree bend, and from here it's just a normal wire wrapped loop, except that when I wrap down, I'm going to wrap around my cut end and my long end and just make it all in one. So I'm going to bring that over, just do a normal wire wrapped loop, rotate my pliers, bring that around, get that little loop centered and really nice and round. Now I'm just going to pay attention as I wrap down that I'm wrapping the cut end inside my coil. And a lot of times I keep wrapping, and I think I will here too. I mean, you can stop there and have this dangle a little bit, but I'm going to keep wrapping right down on top of the dagger bead. It sort of looks like a little cone or spiral bead cap. I think it's a cool look. And I have the wire, just used a scrap that I had left from something else, so I'm just going to use it and just like wrap right over the dagger bead. Just a really cool little drop. Yeah, I love that. So cute. And then I'll use my nylon jaw pliers. Nylon jaw pliers and any kind of wire go together like peanut butter and jelly. I'm just going to get that snuggled right in line, and like I said, nylon jaw pliers, if you really need to flatten something to a bead, snuggle it in there. They work great for that. Look at that gorgeous little drop. It's a little bit contemporary, a little bit funky, but I love it. So cool. Okay, let's get some jump rings and finish this bracelet. I'm going to use this really big lobster claw clasp on that end, and I think I will do a pretty large chunky jump ring, and then for this end I'll go down to this size. There are so many beads left over. Sometimes on my extender chain, especially with nice large openings, I'll make more dangles and attach them all the way down my extender chain, but I didn't do that on this one. This bracelet is absolutely stunning, and so it has like a little focal, but it's offset, you know, it's asymmetrical, and I just absolutely love the way that it turned out. So, and it's one size fits all, so you can lay the extender chain over your wrist and bring your lobster claw clasp around. When you do a bracelet like this, they're really easy to close on your own. And then of course I say that, but the camera's rolling, so you can never do that. But then it can clasp anywhere on the extender chain that you want it to, so you can make it tighter or looser depending on your sleeve. I do like my bracelets to come down kind of low on my hand, and then it's just beautiful, and the chain becomes the rest of your design and the rest of your length. And this just has the sparkle of the Czech glass, this gorgeous button, a little crystal, the gold and silver, the fire polish beads are just absolutely stunning. And so I'm just like, I just love this bracelet, and it's really easy, like stringing. Like I really think anybody could do this. And look how cool the Czech glass button is. That was just such a cool closure on that. So I will put links in the description box for Sam's Bead Box. And if I forgot to mention at the beginning, this box, the special sale on this past box will run through December or until it's sold out. So if it's something that you're interested in, I wouldn't wait. I don't actually know what quantity they have left in this. I didn't check, but it's just such an amazing box. And I have more bracelets already designed. They're sitting in a little dish off to the side. So I'm going to be back in another video with even more designs with this box. It's just too beautiful to put away. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody's warm and well this winter season, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, everybody.